Today, the beverage aisle looks a lot different than it used to. America's beverage companies are working together. We're delivering the options everyone wants. In fact, nearly 60% of beverages Americans buy have zero sugar. You'll find more variety than ever, including more of your favorites, now available with zero sugar. You'll also find more sizes and clear calorie information on the front of every can, bottle, and pack. We know when it comes to finding balance, the more choices, the better.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Hi, it's Dave here, and this is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
And this is the Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. So we decided to see that Anora movie that got all those Oscars.
Yeah, it came out last year, and at the end of the year when all our listeners were telling us their favourite movies, a ton of you said Anora, but we hadn't seen it. It had come and gone so quickly in the cinema. But now it's both in cinema and on demand. I'm sure a lot of people are watching it this week. The film won 5 Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Script, Best Editing, Best Director and Best Actress.
And Sean Baker, the director, broke a record for being the individual who has won the most Oscars for one film at one time.
Yeah.
Right? So he won 4 of those 5.
Because he edited it, wrote it, directed it and produced it.
So fair play to him.
Yeah.
Congrats to him and congrats to Mikey Madison for winning and stealing it from Demi Moore, which we all thought was going to happen.
It's interesting that an independent movie won all of this. So I think that's really cool.
I didn't see this coming. I had my money on The Brutalist, which I also haven't seen, but it felt like that was, and I felt like maybe the AI scandal around that, which I think is a little overblown, kind of hurt that a bit.
If I'm being honest, I don't pay particular attention to the Oscars or the discourse. So the only and I hadn't seen this film.
I agree.
So the only thing that surprised me was that Demi Moore didn't win, because I was interested in that. So I'm kind of fascinated to see the performance in this film from an actress I don't know, and see how she a 25-year-old won it against somebody like that. So that's really interesting. I think the fact that it won so many Oscars and we essentially know nothing about the film.
This movie's doomed. This movie's doomed for us. We won't enjoy it. We won't, because this is I tell you exactly what's going to happen, and this happens anytime a movie wins Best Picture and then people go to watch it. And I've had this conversation with people who saw Everything Everywhere All at Once post its Oscar win,
which we love.
And I spoke to them at work and other places, and I love that movie, and they said, "Yeah, I checked that thing out." Don't get it.
Yeah.
Why did it win all those awards?
But the thing is,
because you go in with this inflated expectation.
But the thing is, I don't know that I even have an inflated expectation, because I just don't rate the Oscars.
Well, I do now. 5. Oh yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Oscars at one point were incredibly culturally relevant.
Yeah.
Now they, through a series of society changing, movies being in trouble, the Oscars going through a series of huge gaffes. Oscars so white, the whole James Franco thing. like they are just, and also them getting it wrong year and year.
I don't trust them, the voters. I don't trust them.
Yeah, I agree. And also, sorry, a big article came out, which was a Variety or Hollywood Reporter. One of them had confirmed via interviews with Academy members that they voted for Adrian Brody because he, quote, according to them, had never won an Oscar before, and we didn't vote for Ralph Fiennes because he already has one. And the reality is, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite, and also that shouldn't affect how you're voting, regardless.
So subjectivity, voting. Well, we know that they vote they give people lifelong achievement awards, like Martin Scorsese. With Demi Moore should have got one for that reason. It seemed like it was going that way. But also, they are voting based on incorrect information, so it's like
anyway, look, I'm interested to see this film. I love seeing an independent film doing this well. We don't take the Oscars too seriously, so I'm still just going in expecting, a good movie. And the reason I'm expecting it to be good actually is more because so many of our listeners recommended it.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah.
I think we should just set our expectations to the middle.
We'll be kind, and we're looking forward to see it now. It's apparently quite a caper, so I really like a caper.
I've heard this word as well.
Yeah.
Caper.
Yeah, so we'll be back after we've watched Anora.
See you shortly.
Yo. Did you pick up milk?
Do you see milk in the fridge?
No.
Then I didn't pick up the milk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annie. You don't have cash? Let's go to the ATM. Well, we could go chill out in a private room.
I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian.
My Russian is terrible. I can't even roll my R's.
No.
Я просто хотел тебе предложить. Ты хочешь быть эксклюзивно со мной?
15. Cash up front.
Deal.
Deal.
If I get married to an American, I wouldn't have to go back to Russia.
Okay, so who should marry?
And you, Anora, take this handsome gentleman to New York.
Да я был с ним 2 недели назад буквально. Он не жена.
Well, you did tell them, right?
Иванжан, открой дверь, пожалуйста.
Vanya, should I call 911?
Ты женился на какой-то проститутке?
What?
Okay, hi, we're back. We have seen the film Anora. If it's your first time at the cinema, of course, we won't spoil the movie Anora until we get to Spoiler Street, which, of course, is on our way home. Kathy, I know for a fact you hated this movie.
I did.
Because I know you so well.
I'm
Your body
gobsmacked.
language right now
I'm
is
just-
telling me you not only did you not think this was a good film, you are angry. You
I just-
hated this.
So what I'll say is, I think Mikey Madison's really good. And
Full stop. And nothing else nice to
I
say.
think I really admire the low budget and, what they've done with it.
Yeah, $6 million,
Yeah.
which is
I admire
pittance
that.
in Hollywood money.
Now, when I'm promised a caper, and this is what I get,
Not all heroes get capers.
I would just say I'm finding it hard to articulate why it annoyed me so much. First of all, I cannot believe it won for best editing because it's like, I would say a solid 60 minutes too long. I found the story incredibly dull, and I found this setting should be interesting, right? Of somebody who's like a stripper and a sex worker, and that world that I don't know a lot about. But the problem is with the main character, Anora, or Annie, we only know her by her profession. So we learn, I know nothing about the character. So I couldn't really get behind her, albeit I liked her, I didn't dislike her, but couldn't really get behind her. I didn't really know anything to identify, in terms of what she's about, what her life's about. And then I found the dialogue very poor, so again, I'm really surprised it won for best script. I think the overarching idea is quite a good one, but it didn't really go anywhere. Particularly the second half was very meandering. Kind of the middle half was, the middle bit basically was very, very bloated, meandering. I felt like the first half an hour could have been cut down to 5 minutes. And I felt like the director's gaze was just very lecherous. And I feel like we spent more time watching Anora doing explicit dancing than we actually heard her speaking. And I'm really surprised she won Best Actress, not because I don't think she's good, because I actually think she's very good, the actress. But she was just given nothing to do. I don't even think she had one scene. I don't know what scene they will have used for the Oscar clip. And I haven't watched the Oscars. There's just no scenes of her where you're I really get this character. There's a real motivation here. There's interesting dialogue. There's none of that. So just nothing hung it together for me. And I just found by the end that I was just really kind of am I missing something here? What am I missing? And Dave, I think you enjoyed it more than me. Tell me what I was missing.
I don't know what you were missing. I can't make this movie work for you.
No,
and
tell me
also,
what you thought of it.
Oh, well, I'm also a little baffled. I mean, I said up front that this movie's coming in at a disadvantage based on our viewing experience with all these expectations.
But even if we'd seen it last year, I don't think I'd have liked
I
it.
don't think so either. I didn't. This movie. Okay, here's my experience with this movie. I found it quite difficult to get on board with, and I'll talk more in details in Spoiler Street. But I thought this is very much like kind of two parts. This movie, I thought the second part was more interesting. It feels like it kicks into gear. There's an event that happens kind of halfway through the movie that kind of feels like, oh, finally stuff is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that's when it kind of got a bit more interesting to me. I'll say again, I'll have to talk in spoilers, but I kind of saw where the movie was going and what it was trying to do, and therefore what it was trying to say. So it didn't really surprise me in any way, but I thought the final scene was really good and excellent, and I think that's the scene where well, we have such different opinions of this. That's the scene where I think she deserved her. She worked for her Oscar. So the scene that you wanted, you're asking, we didn't watch the Oscar, so I don't know what clip
but
they
they can't
played.
have used that scene.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. The clip they played is both too explicit and the final scene of the movie, so you can't show it. But
like the movie,
I think she was great in that.
She's an object in this film, the actress.
Well, but see, this is kind of the point, and I'd like to get into. We can only talk about it in spoilers, so we'll do it then. But that scene made the rest of the movie click for me.
For me, it's so obvious a straight man wrote this movie.
Okay,
he's more concerned with her arse than he is her character arc.
Yeah, but
it's
come
pathetic.
here. Her character arse was. She had the best character arse.
It's just like what are we like? I was like, this to me, this is like the kind of movie that like a 20-year-old guy like in film school who's been given a bit of money would be like, oh, I'm really going to get behind the scenes of this sex worker, and then I'm just going to film her arse, and then film her and her girlfriends having like cat fights, and then I'm going to hint at maybe that she's a bit disconnected from her family, but I'm never going to elaborate on it. Like, in fact, she will have no character or family or background, and in fact she is just somebody who's doing these actions right now with no context around them. But she's going to do some really good lap dancing.
See, I think it all makes sense. It only makes sense because I agree with you. I was unable to get on the same wavelength as Anora, understand her motivations. She was quite inscrutable for most of the movie. I couldn't tell, is she playing a long con here or is she just very naive? And again, none of it makes sense, and I think until the final scene. Now, and I think it does all then make sense in retrospect, to me anyway. However, and I'll talk about that shortly. But does that make up for the rest of the movie? No, I don't think. I don't think I had it. I wouldn't say I had a great experience watching this. I kind of chuckled a few times. I think it's really trying to be a comedy for a lot of this, and I felt it was trying a little too hard and wasn't. Now, comedy is really subjective, but largely wasn't landing for me.
A lot of our patrons said they thought it was like a dark comedy, which I'm glad to hear they thought that, because like I'm glad they enjoyed it. Like, I always want people to enjoy films. I don't think I laughed once.
The second half is the caper dark comedy.
Yeah.
The first half is the bit that you're describing, this sort of weird young male fantasy.
Yeah.
Now, is that? But I don't know. I haven't seen another film by Sean Baker. But I don't know.
I know he's had some controversy in the past.
But I think he's trying to present the lens through the other protagonist of this movie, the Russian oligarch's son, right? So who is just a young 20s lecherous.
But like, do we need a film lens
male
through that character's point of view?
But can we just go to Spoiler Street and maybe get into it for a little bit?
We'll say there was a couple of side characters there's a couple of side characters where I can see the caper coming in, but I think they were all. I think the dialogue was too bad, and it's funny because I hate
dialogue was bad at all.
to bring up like a Quentin Tarantino because I don't like him, but like when you think of films where he has kind of groups of criminals together and how funny and witty and how separate they all feel as characters, I just felt like whenever we were with these kind of side crime caper characters, it was typically kind of boring and half felt ad-libbed. I don't know.
Okay, I don't think that's a fair comparison because Tarantino, right? It is fair in that you are describing two crime caper comedy scenario types. But the Tarantino ones are incredibly heightened and ridiculous.
But this was
almost.
heightened and ridiculous, but in a banal way.
But I don't think so. I actually thought the performances in all of this movie were very naturalistic. Felt all of these people felt like real people.
Oh, I don't fault any of the performances.
Yeah, I thought the performances were great, and I thought I did not have an issue with the dialogue.
I didn't have an
thought
issue, I was just
everybody was
bored.
saying things. Yeah, I was bored as well.
Yeah,
I'm with
that's
you
my
there.
issue.
I wasn't leaning in for this movie.
I wasn't like raging about the dialogue. I was just like, this is so boring. And I understand that naturalistic style where people all talk over each other. But again, that's very hard to watch as a viewer.
But it felt, but I gotta say, like, the thing you're describing of the Tarantinos, and I think sometimes the McDonough brothers go for this type of person as well. And I think I get put off when I hear a writer speaking through some like philosophical heavy, as like a bodyguard who's like, oh, actually quite clever, or has a quirk, or is interested thing.
Yeah.
Mark Strong in The Guard is one of the worst examples of that for me. It's so try hard. Whereas these guys, these sort of Armenian
They're like
sort
heavies.
of heavies, I kind of found them quite refreshing, and they felt like real normal people.
They did. But
And-
like, again, do I need to watch them in a 2.5 hour movie?
No, I guess not. Look,
The
I
main
don't-
thing I want to talk about before we get to spoilers
But
because
yeah, go on.
is I gobsmacked at how and again I'm stressing the fact that I think Mikey Madison's very, very good.
Demi Moore was robbed.
It's not even
She was,
that
though.
robbed
She was
because no
robbed.
one's owed an Oscar, right? But like I actually think this is like a meta joke about Hollywood and the substance, because
that the substance happened
the substance
in the
has happened
Oscars.
in
Yeah.
this is the whole premise of the substance, is that like you can work your whole life,
I know,
do a
right?
brilliant job, and then someone younger will come along and just kind of writhe around and replace you. And like there was a sequence in this movie, right, where like the main actress is just like essentially grinding into a carpet, right, to a really explicit song. And I was like,
That
what
song was
is
terrible,
Demi
by the way.
Moore
Wow.
thinking watching this film? And the irony to me is that like Demi Moore has always been like really free with her body and very expressive actress with her body, and like then she did a movie like Striptease and she was so mocked and ridiculed. She's come back with The Substance, which pokes at all of that in a really interesting way, and then she gets beaten by somebody who plays a character that has no character and that is just runs around the film just screaming, has no dialogue, seemingly has no personality that we can figure out or motivations, and then just is like in cat fights with people. It's just such a male view of a woman. And I don't know, like, to me, is the director of this film like the Dennis Quaid character?
No,
It's like, what's happening?
No, I think what you're describing is true, but it's the point of the movie, and I'll explain why I think that when we get to spoiler
What's the point
street.
of the movie?
'Cause-
Great. Do we need a man to make a movie to tell us? Like,
Listen, let me explain to you, as a straight white man, that the point of this movie is that women are sexy as all hell. And sometimes
young women are.
Sometimes when they grind their naughty character arses on the ground,
Yeah.
it's super hot.
Yeah. Anyway, I just
right.
can't. I'm gobsmacked.
No, I don't. Sorry, I don't actually agree with you. I'm going to go to bat for this film when we
Great.
get to spoiler
Go to
street.
bat for it.
We'll
We'll be back, and we'll have a quick break, and then we will talk spoilers about Anora.
Nicely done.
I
Great
forgot the name of
segue.
it. I actually forgot the name of
Haven't seen
it.
it.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Okay, so
do we think that
Go
this
on.
movie is going to end up one of those lists, where people always go like with Crash, which I haven't seen, so I can't judge the movie Crash whatsoever. But people always go, "Oh my God, remember
what were the
that?"
Oscars doing? I don't think so. I think you and I are in the minority here, as far as I can tell. I've
don't
I've
know,
looked
because-
from what I've heard of the discourse, both audience and critics. people seem to really like this movie.
I mean, it did really well at Cannes, which is kind of what kicked off the Oscar campaign for such a small movie. But what I'm going to be interested to hear is, because all the reviews and stuff like that before were from A, like, you know, particular type of film buffs, and B, you know, real heavy movie watchers like our patrons, for example, who loved it.
Oh, you think, does this have mainstream appeal?
Well, I'm just interested to see when the net broadens what happens with the reviews. And I saw such a funny review for it where somebody said it's like a sweet spot, and I get this, where they were saying that, like, you know, because this is very kind of, you know, realism kind of vibe to it. So it was saying that in the Academy it probably caught the sweet spot of like all the 70s directors and filmmakers, you know, who love things, you know, like Taxi Driver, and then the Gen Zs who love everything to be just super authentic and gritty and grimy, and it's actually ended up being like the Gen Z Taxi Driver. And I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Because, and I just am super into like very, very realistic cinema. Now, for me, a much better movie, and it's about a younger character, but doesn't feel kind of disconnected from this in a way. There's a lot of sex and drugs and kind of crime. The movie 13, which I've always loved, and
yeah, that's a good movie.
To me, that's an incredible example, and that actually was written by a young woman. A very realistic, grounded film that really touched on this stuff in a very authentic way with female characters. I have a feeling in 5 years' time this is going to be on a what the fuck were they thinking this, and everyone's going to be like, what were we doing, and why did he win the most Oscars anyone's ever won?
I don't think so.
And why didn't Demi Moore get her Oscar?
I think this movie, I think looking back, people will say Demi Moore just should have got the Oscar that time. I think she was robbed. However, I think in 5 years there's going to be a different list which says, why didn't the Cinemile get the movie Anora that is universally loved?
I don't think
and this
so.
Irish couple.
No, I'm going to listen. I'm going to go and
can't
read.
seem to get on board
after this week, when everyone's going to have to cut the movie, I'm going to go and read new reviews and see what people are saying.
I am legitimately curious as to what everyone thinks of this movie.
And
are
tell
we
us,
alone? Please tell us if
yeah.
you did love it. Why did you love it? I am really curious because I didn't love it.
And then a load of our patrons were saying, well, I liked it more than Emilia Perez, which is totally fair because a lot
which
of people,
we both thought was
really
great.
liked Emilia
So we
Perez.
are. What is wrong with us?
But also, I'm like, yeah, but of course you might like it more than Emilia Perez, and that's fine. But that aside, should this have won 5 Oscars? You know.
I don't know. But anyway, can I explain to you with full spoilers now? Spoilers for Anora.
Justice for Conclave is all I have to say.
So, Conclave was never going to win anything.
But Conclave's so
maybe
good.
Joseph Fiennes Ralph Fiennes could have won. Actually, it would have been amazing if Joseph Fiennes had won.
It won Best Adapted
That would have been a
Screenplay.
surprise. Oh, did it? Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. So, to me, the movie, yeah, I'm totally on board with it. I was largely bored, confused. Why is this so popular? And I thought all the sort of hunting around for him and this unlikely car filled with.
So
well, see, I actually thought this is the movie got interesting, and I'm like, this is an interesting scenario, circumstance, and I was impressed with how, again, naturalistic
it's an
it all
interesting
felt.
scenario, but then when we're actually just watching them going, hey, have you seen this guy? And he's got a photo on his phone.
Don't do the accent,
and he's just
Kathy.
walking around from from restaurant to club, like from pillar to post. And the whole time we're like, why is she? We cannot understand why she's with
Why is she? And this is the problem for me, the movie, because why is she interested in this goober? As we all know, he's a goober
and
with a lot of money, and none of this is going to stay. Like, is she just naive? Is she?
Is she there for the money? Does she love him? And the film does not answer that question.
No, but I think it does. In the very final scene, I think it becomes clear, and I thought this was written and performed really well.
Yeah, it was
Where
probably
she
like the best
finally-
scene in the movie, but do I think it was a great scene? No.
Okay, well, can I just explain how I'm reading this movie, or what Sean Baker's trying to communicate here? Firstly, I thought it was too heavily signposted that this was the rom-com lead the whole time, when they kept cutting to his reaction shot for everything that ever happened.
And Dave whispered to me, oh, they're going to get together at the end, and I said, this film can't be that bad. That's how it ends for this character. That she just ends up with a different goon.
I've no problem with that, because
no, but
it's
I do, because I was like, the film's already so bad, and she's already like a Z-list in her own story, that if the film actually ends on her hooking up with another guy, it's so boring.
Here's the thing, right? He's the only character in the film who is extending her any kindness and sees her as a person and is trying to fight her corner.
And their
right?
scene when they were on the sofa together watching TV.
It's a good scene.
It's the only probably chemistry in the movie, really, wasn't it, between any characters?
I thought they had good chemistry.
Yeah, I did
and
as well.
so in the
They're both
car,
very
in
good.
the end, she comes to the realization that she realizes this thing that we all realized half an hour ago, right? And
But again, it's transactional because he gives her the ring.
And she then lets go. Oh, he gives her the ring, which is symbolic and obvious. And then she finally sees this and then lets go of this fantasy. I think it becomes clear in these final moments that she did the whole time she just wanted the fantasy. She wants to be treated with kindness. She is somebody
Well, it's basically
who
Pretty Woman,
has
isn't it?
never been has been objectified in her. We don't know too much about her personal life or her backstory, but she works in a line of work that you are literally objectified and you're commodified. And she saw a way to perhaps legitimize herself. She really is fighting for, throughout the movie, with his parents, with everyone else, that this is a legitimate marriage. We love each other. I don't think deep down she does love him. She can't.
I mean, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot.
We
and he's
actually
horrible.
thought the twist, or I thought the twist was going to be that, it turns out he was like 15 and therefore they could have never been legally married. That was the only place I thought it was going because he's so dumb.
But I think now in retrospect, when she's fighting her corner, she's legitimately fighting for this chance to get out of this. For this,
she wants to be
fairy
married.
tale in it. She
Yeah.
wants to be married. She wants the house. She wants all of this. So,
but again, we don't know why though, and the film doesn't explore it.
well,
for us.
here's the thing: because she has been objectified and commodified her whole life, and the only
no, but
power.
again, you're guessing though. We don't know that. We know nothing about her.
I know, but this is me trying to explain to you my read on the film based on the final scene, looking back. But in these final moments, she meets somebody who gives her kindness, and she realizes, oh, this is the guy. So what does she do? She then gives him sex, because that is how the transaction has worked, and that is the only commodity with which she has traded and the only power with which she has. And she says, I'm going to give that to you. But he is more interested in giving her kindness and tenderness and isn't too interested in sex at this moment. And so he tries to kiss her. She rejects this because this is not something she's accustomed to, and she slaps him, pushes him away, and then breaks down into tears. And I found all this quite moving, because this is, to me, I read this as, this is the first time she has experienced tenderness and kindness from somebody, and this is the first time we've seen Anora, the character, emerge. And I think thematically she keeps saying throughout, I'm Annie, to call me Annie, I prefer Annie. He says he prefers Anora, her actual name. I think we see the facade that she has built up to survive in this world drop, and she is acknowledging that she is Anora, and it all comes up. She shows herself for the first time, which is why she was so inscrutable for the whole movie, because we were witnessing somebody projecting a fantasy, projecting someone else's fantasy of themselves, which is why it looks like the male lens for the whole movie. How's that?
I think.
Do you love the movie now?
Sean Baker would be very pleased with your analysis. I think if the only way for the female star of a movie, to finally have a revelatory moment is for her to be having sex with some goon she met halfway through the movie, and that's the final scene of the film, that is pathetic. I just think I want to know her, the character. I never saw her in the film.
But she doesn't know herself. That's what I'm saying. She is guarded.
But there's ways of that happening in a film where we can certainly learn more about her than her profession. That's what I'm saying. This film is squarely about her profession. We know nothing else about her. And then when all the scenes she's in with all the goons, she's just screaming and roaring and...
Yeah, because she's fighting. She's fighting for this chance to have a different life, no matter the fact that it's a fantasy, it's a fairy tale.
But there's just not... all I'm saying is, I think he's done a shocking job on writing her as a character, and I think he'd be very pleased with what you said there about the ending, but I 100% think it was a good scene, but should it Like, is that the best scene that they could do? I don't know.
Oh, well, don't get me wrong. Do I think the whole movie, 2.5 hours, was worth it to get to that? No. I don't. I didn't have a good time. But I was moved by the final scene, and
think this is what do we think this is it? Like, this is what you should be aspiring to in a film? Like, is this a good way to show off your acting chops? No. Like, she got nothing to do. She wasn't given any dialogue. Like, she spends half the film screaming or dancing.
It doesn't feel like her movie.
No,
really.
I think she was brilliant at everything she was doing. I don't even understand how it's like a Best Actress nomination.
You're just like, this isn't the showcase for her talents, is what you're saying.
No, it's a showcase for Sean Baker's notions and his gaze. And I think it was a huge mistake by the Academy, and I know they'll really care about this review. And look, I'm happy to see an independent film that cost a couple of million. You know, I love to see that get a centre stage. And I have no, like essentially, I wouldn't even say like I hated this film. I would say like if I had seen this film in the cinema, I'd have just forgotten about it, never thought about it again. I just think, I'm just baffled, really baffled.
It's a bit like that Arrested Development joke. Her? That's how I feel about this movie. Like, this movie?
Yeah, this movie. And like, you know, as again, all the actors are really good. So I certainly won't be turning out for another Sean Baker film.
Anyway, look, there are other opinions out there, and the most people do seem to love this film, and we want to hear from you. So please.
So out of touch, you know. I'm like.
No, Kathy, it's the kids who are wrong. Let us know.
Is this empowering? Am I missing something?
Here's a frightening fact, Kathy.
What?
Mikey Madison was born, I discovered this just now, the year that The Phantom Menace was released.
Why is that frightening? She's very young.
Yeah, well, that just made me feel old.
Anyway, we shall be back next week. Hopefully having seen something better than this.
Mickey 17 we're hoping to see next week. Look forward to that.
Yeah, anyway, let us know what you thought. Come over to the Cinemile on Blue Sky or Instagram or patreon.com/the-Cinemile, or email us thecinemile@gmail.com and tell us why we're wrong and why this was a good movie, because we'd love to hear it.
I'd really love to have some open discourse about
And
this.
meanwhile, we are still doing our weekly reviews of Severance. We are doing reviews of The White Lotus Season 3. We have just reviewed The Traitors US Season 3, and we're about to review Paradise, which we're absolutely loving on Disney+. So come over to patreon.com/the-Cinemile for 7-day free trial.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
What is that? Is that a butterfly?
Yeah, it's a butterfly.
You're so classy.
I know.
I got dollar signs like a real hoe.
Unexplored catacombs buried beneath the city. A crumbling castle perched on a mountain peak. A top-secret government bunker. A cursed mansion cloaked in legend. I'm Sasha Auerbach. Join me and Tom Ward every Wednesday and Sunday as we reveal the mysteries and histories of abandoned places around the world and ask, where did everyone go? Brought to you by Like a Shot, makers of Forbidden History. Search for Where Did Everyone Go on your favorite podcast platform.